Someone was asking me what I felt the meaning of an avatar was. And I thought, wow, or what my understanding of it is. And I thought, well, interestingly enough, I could use that to talk a little bit about a quality of devotion where when we're asking about kind of like the levels of how realization can be categorized. I'm not sure if that's the spirit of the person asking the question, but I think of when we're in that mode of kind of what is a more advanced realization, what is a less advanced realization. There's this way of like dividing things up that can get really tricky. Like those waters can get really tricky because those ways of defining, who a person is and what they are and how they present to the world. There's ways that the thinking mind loves to box things up and define and, create these ideas. And it has its risks. Sometimes it has its rewards. There's a sense of, when the mind has a sense of order and, a way to language things that's clear, the person's being often can rest more. But there's also some downsides to that, and it's that the way the mind categorizes things can create a sense of more advanced or less advanced or higher or lower. And this can tend to lend a person's consciousness to organize around greater habits of division and separation and piecing things out in a way that, if they're in a more me-centered perspective, can create greater seeking or greater rejection of the state they're in and seeking greater states, or rejecting let's say a person that they encounter because maybe they're not the most realized person. Then I'm going to reject them. And this is not always healthy in terms of spirituality. But I like the way the person asked me what my understanding was, because I got the sense that they didn't just want to know, something for the sake of the thinking mind, but that there might be more to it. And so all I can really do is speak from my own experience in speaking to this question, because I think that it's more of I would encourage a way of navigating as a spiritual practitioner in ways where you really become more aware of what's deeply resonant for you. There are certain beings and people that we encounter that they have a deeper sense of presence. They have a deeper sense of clarity that we just recognize. And I would say for myself, I'm not going by any other people's standards, but I would think of an avatar as somebody who is expressive of the qualities of the divine qualities of our essential nature, and really embodies those and expresses those in their day-to-day living and in their consciousness with consistency. And we could say, some that I've heard people use the term like, oh, well, so-and-so is an avatar, and, avatars only come like so often throughout history. And, according to how they're using that definition, that may or may not be so. But I think that for myself, I have heard of different people being called avatars, like a Jesus Christ, or, It depends what circles you're traveling in. Because I traveled in circles of self-realization fellowship, Yogananda was spoken of as an avatar. People who, let's say, are part of the Amaji community, would call Amaji an avatar. And there is a way that figures such as these have this kind of worldwide influence and, level of realization and conduct of behavior that is thought of as the most highly esteemed. But for myself personally, when I think of, let's say, Yogananda or Christ, who I've had a more personal relationship with their teachings and their life story, I think of those beings as being streams of consciousness that resonate within me a sense of energetic resonance that I can track onto that really defies time and space. So, for example, these figures like Christ or Yogananda, as examples, they are no longer in the living flesh. They're not walking this earth currently in human form that I know of, but they have had this transmission that has been carried, in the collective consciousness, in the consciousness of individuals of specific lineages that carry a specific perfume of consciousness forward in their own beings because those practitioners have attuned to that flavor of presence and that state of consciousness and have activated in their hearts. And so for myself, as a person who's also, studied more of the Advaita teachings or Zen Buddhism, the way I reconcile these religious paths that put up various figures that are thought to be, exemplars of spiritual realization, how I reconcile that with my own direct experience is that the whole point is to discover the essence of that realized person as essentially your own essence. Maybe with a little different perfume of presence, or certainly, I could strike the word maybe, with a different perfume of presence than your own or others, but the essence is of the one essential beingness that pervades all things.